Okay, so good afternoon, teachers and students. Okay, so as you know, I'm Mr. Tucker, and I will be your MC for today. Thank you. Today we are very, very fortunate to have special guests talk to us about the upcoming Life Education Tour to Israel, and is aimed at nurturing the spirit of Cheung team in all who participate. For example, on one of the days, you'll take part in a 10-kilometer night run along the Tel Aviv seashore line, okay, which sounds very nice. I can imagine this to be an unforgettable experience that reflects the perseverance of Cheung teams. Now, Mr. Steve Gray from Innovation Nation Tours, who was a former venture capitalist at Intel Capital, will present to you the trip's itinerary, telling you where you will go, what you will see, and what you can learn from such a fantastic experience. The talk will conclude with a Q&A session, where you can raise your hand, of course, and ask questions about the trip. So, without further ado, please give a warm hand to Mr. Steve Gray.
Good afternoon. As I came in, I was talking with Principal Poon, and I saw the marvelous trophies that you've all earned and the awards that you've received. I must say it's very, very impressive. And so, if only for that, for me it's a great honor to be here today and to speak to you about a topic that's very close to my heart. Just a couple of words about myself. I was born, as you may hear, in the United States. I was born in Boston. And when I was a young man, I chose to move to Israel and to make my life in Israel. I worked on a kibbutz, which is a collective settlement, which you can ask me about later. And I worked many years in industry, in the solar energy, and in other things. And then when I was 45 years old, I was hired to work at Intel. And I worked for Intel for about 15 years, most of which, as Mr. Tucker mentioned, I worked in Intel Capital, investing in companies, startup companies in Israel. Intel is a marvelous place to work. I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed especially walking around with Intel's money in my back pocket to give to people. They were always very happy to see me. After I left Intel, all of a sudden I wasn't quite as popular as I was when I had Intel's money in my back pocket, but I've learned to come to terms with that. I want to tell you a little bit today about Israel, as a country and as a place where innovation is part of the culture. And I want to share with you some ideas and show you some things that those of you who will choose, who are smart enough to choose to come on a trip to Israel this summer, will be able to experience, and then we'll have a chance to answer some questions. Today, I will just mention that I lived for many years in Jerusalem, which is a city you may be familiar with from your Bible studies. And today I live in the Galilee, not far. When I look out the window of my house, I see the hills of the city of Nazareth, where Jesus lived. So I feel very connected to the Bible, also in my daily work. So we're here to talk about technology in Israel. It may not be what it seems. When people think of Israel, sometimes they think of Israel is a sandy place with just a desert. So you only see, here's Israel's technology. We attach a solar panel to a camel, and there we go. We're off in inventing new things. This is mobile technology 1.0. But Israel is a contradiction in terms. When you come to Israel, you'll see the juxtaposition, the connection of the old together with the new. You can see the Old Testament together with the New Testament. Israel, with all of its innovation and its modernity, when it comes to religion, it's the most Jewish and the most Christian country in the Middle East. It's an exciting place to come and visit. A little bit about the country of Israel, because most people, they hear about Israel a lot in the news, but they don't really know much of the facts and figures. And I want to concentrate, of course I'm not going to tell you all of the history and all of the cultural and spiritual and religious aspects of the country, but I want to just touch on a few points that are relevant to the idea of Israel as a startup nation. Israel is a place where innovation percolates up from the soil and comes down from the rain. It's a very small country. We only have about 8.3 million people in the entire country. Once a visitor from China came and he asked, I said, how many people are in Israel? There's so much action here. And they said 8.3 million. And he said, no, not in your city, in the whole country. And they said, no, that is the whole country. It's only 8.3 million people. It's a small country and only 21,000 square kilometers. So it's very compact. GDP has been growing very rapidly. And Israel is ranked first in the world in the amount of money the government spends on research and development as a percentage of the gross domestic product. We're first in the world in the amount of money that's available by VCs. Do you know what VCs are? Venture capitalists. These are organizations that look for, scout out young companies to invest in the hope to make them successful, and to make a lot of money for themselves and for their people who gave them the money, and to hopefully make the companies successful as well. A leader in economic and industrial development, one of the best startup ecosystems in the world. When you come to Israel, we're going to have a chance to really explore in a much more detailed fashion the ideas behind how does a young country get to be a leader in innovation. Israel, like China, became an independent country of its own, recognized by the UN only after World War II in 1948. The People's Republic was in 1949. But in that short period of time, in the last 68 years, Israel has managed to take a leadership position in technology and in innovation. And when you consider your own future, when you think about what you want to do next, where you want to go when you graduate, when you move on to university and go beyond university, the question is, what things can you learn from going to a place like Israel that's going to help you to be more creative, to be more innovative, to think outside of the box? It's always helpful to come into contact with different cultures, with different societies, with different places. It helps you to look at the world in a different fashion. So when we think about Israel, you have to think about what are the lessons that you can learn from a trip to Israel, and what are the things that we're going to be able to show you on a trip that hopefully you'll make this summer. Just to give you a sense in comparison of Israel versus China, you can see it's almost hard to find on the map. It's such a small country. And in fact, as small as it is, most of the people live in half of the country. If I go back to the previous slide just for a second, The lower part of the map here, this whole section that I'm circling here, this is mostly desert. So most of the people live just in this little area. So you can see when we're talking about the size of Israel, it's really a small country, both in terms of its physical size and also in terms of its population. China has a population of 166 times that of Israel. Yet when it comes to technological development and companies listed on the NASDAQ or on the U.S. stock exchanges, Israel is third in the world in terms of the number of companies. So the question that I would ask to you is, why should you be interested in this? What if, people say Israel is an interesting place, but why should you want to come and see what's going on in Israel? Why is Israel in the news so much? If you listen to the news, you'll find that Israel is in the news much more than, say, Finland, or Poland, or Italy, or Morocco. Why is Israel in the news so much? What's happening in Israel that is going on that you should know about as a citizen of the world, as someone who wants to be connected to the entire world? Why should you be interested in Israel? We're going to try and answer some of those questions. Why is it such a hotbed of innovation? What is it that's going on in Israel that makes people think of inventing new things? Why are they so interested in not accepting what there is, but always looking to do something better, to do something more, to take the next step? What's going on? What's happening in Israeli society that's not happening in Romania, that's not happening in Venezuela, that's not happening in Australia? What's going on in Israel? And then trying for yourselves to understand, what does that mean for me? What can I learn? How can I get ahead by learning some of these things and maybe applying in my own life? And we would ask ourselves the question, what is it in the history and the culture of Israel? Is there any connection between what was in the past and what will be in the future? The same question I think we have to ask when we think about China. China also has an extremely rich history. It's one of the few countries in the world, like Israel, that has history that spans thousands of years. And what we want to try to understand, if we look back, can we figure out what's going to happen in the future? We all want to know. If we all knew what was going to happen in 10 years, we'd all be very rich. And we're always looking to figure out, okay, what's going to happen next? And one of the ways of doing that is to look what's happening now, and look what happened in the past and see, okay, what are the trends, what are the values, what's going on in the culture that will allow me, that will give me the tools to see what might be going on in the future. Can I see a show of hands? Does anyone here want to be rich? Anybody? No, I don't see any hands. Don't be, okay. There are a few people who want to be rich. Well, that's good, okay. Rich, money is a good thing as long as you don't make it too important in your life. But if you want to be rich, you have to understand a little bit about business. Now, I know you're all learning technology and IT. And IT is a great tool for understanding how to get ahead, how to use the platforms of IT in order to move ahead. I'm going to give you, since I'm a businessman and I came out of the business world, I want to give you just a couple of tips, just a couple of questions. We'll do a little business simulation together. Okay, you have a new business. You decided to set up a business. You're running a successful company here in Hong Kong, and it's doing very well. And you say, okay, I want to expand overseas. I want to expand overseas. Now, what are the operations? What would you like to move overseas? What's generally the first thing that people think about when they want to expand their business overseas? Anybody have an idea? You can just yell something out. I don't even have to know who you are. Any idea what if you wanted to bring your your product to San Francisco, what would you do in San Francisco that would help you to expand your business? Correct. I heard it back there. You'd open up a sales office. You said, okay, if I want to sell in the United States, I'll go to Boston and I'll set up a sales office. That's probably the first thing that you would set up. How about if you want to go beyond that? You want to take advantage of low cost of a low cost environment. Maybe if you have a product here in Hong Kong, maybe you'll go to you'll be manufacturing it in Shenzhen, or maybe you'll go to the Congo or to Vietnam because there's lower cost. So if you're going to move your manufacturing out, then you'll move into a low-cost environment. But if you're a company and you have some great ideas, what's probably the last thing that you're going to move far away from your headquarters? The last thing that you want to do is you want to move your research and development somewhere else. The research and development of your company, the intellectual property that you own, that's what drives the value of your company. If you have good ideas, you want to make sure that you keep them close. So that sometimes the very last thing that you'll even think about ever moving far away is your research and development. Do you agree with me? Everybody say yes. Hey, good. Very smart. You guys, they told me you were smart, but now I understand just how smart you are. So if you're so smart, I'm going to give you a quiz now. Okay. So now we know that the last thing you want to move abroad is your R&D. So which of these companies decided when they decided to send their R&D abroad? Which company decided to set up their first R&D office in Israel? Okay, I'm going to ask you. I want to know how many people think it was Apple. If you think it was Apple, raise your hand. Nobody thinks it was Apple, okay? R&D is research and development. The idea is the first group, the research and development is the group that thinks about new ideas, okay? So, how many people think Apple, when they decided to set up a development office, the first place they picked was Israel? How many people think it was Apple? No, but one person. Okay, good. How many people think it was Cisco? You know what Cisco is? They make networking equipment. Okay. 2 people here. How many people think it was Intel? That's my company. Okay, yes. Go Intel. How many people think it was Microsoft? Okay. So I'm going to give you the answer now. The fact of the matter is, they're all right. Each one of these companies decided when they said, we need to get more new ideas into the company, they said, where are we going to go? Are we going to go to Poland? Are we going to go to Germany? Are we going to go to Venezuela? Are we going to go to Vietnam? Are we going to go to Hong Kong? They went to Israel. There's something that's happening in Israel that's drawing international companies to say, if I need new ideas, if I need fresh products, if I need something that's going to change the world, where do I have to go? And what's the answer? Israel, correct. These are companies that have set up, not everyone came first to Israel, but these are companies that have set up research and development centers. Not just sales offices, not just manufacturing, research and development centers in Israel. Samsung, Huawei, Cisco, Siemens, HP, the best and the brightest companies. You should buy stock in all these companies. These are very smart companies. They came to Israel. It gives you an idea that something is happening in Israel that doesn't happen everywhere else. So, just so that you can stop hearing me talk for a minute, I'm going to play a short movie for you. So pay attention to this.
The spark. That moment when a single principle crystallizes into a big idea. But an idea, as great as it may be, simply isn't enough without the right team for the job. Not to mention passion, self-confidence, initiative, and risk-taking. Everything must work in sync. You know why they call Israel the startup nation? Perhaps because it started as one. A young venture that in a short amount of time succeeded in developing future-proof innovations and exciting new business models. Why here? Maybe it's in our DNA. A product of our diversity and outgoing nature, combined with unquestionable curiosity. A strong will to make a difference that leads to so many discoveries and inventions. Or could it be our untiring desire to break new ground, even if it means getting our hands dirty? Some just call it chutzpah. You see, Israel is not just a country, it's a mindset, a thriving economy, and a global hub of innovation that impacts the lives of many worldwide. In Israel we have a saying, start as fast as you can, then slowly go faster. Always moving forward, dreaming up new ideas and making them happen.
So Israel is a place where things can happen, and where the people in Israel are making things happen. You know, the companies set up R&D centers, but some people, sometimes they just take the easy way out. What's the easy way out? Just buy an Israeli company. You already have all the people there. This is just a listing of just a few of the companies that were acquired by larger companies in order to say, I need the idea, I didn't think of it myself, they thought of it first, but you know what, I'll just buy them. Chromatis, Waze was bought by Google for $1 billion. Object, which does 3D printing, was acquired by Stratasys. And the list goes on and on. This is just a few of the larger ones. So if there's a lot of R&D and there's a lot of action and there's a lot of innovation, my question to you is, how are we going to get you involved and engaged with this innovation? If you want to be rich, if you want to be creative, if you want to think differently, you're going to have to get out of your seats and go somewhere else and start thinking differently. So what we're going to do this summer is we're going to offer you the opportunity to come and to engage with the innovation nation, with the startup nation, with the people who are making things happen. Tour, the visit, the seminar that your school is offering is going to allow you to meet with people who are thinking, and are young people who are creating new companies, who are creating wealth, who are getting rich, and doing it because they want to make a difference in the world. The writing is small, so I'm going to read it to you. We need to understand, we want to help you understand what makes Israel tick. Why Israel is the way it is. Is it the education? Is it risk-taking? Is it networking? Maybe it's just that there's a fact that there's a lot of money. Is there an entrepreneurial spirit that's different in Israel than it is in France or Germany? And together, this trip will allow you to discover the secrets and then help you, each one of you, look inside yourself and look for your own spark. Because the idea is not to copy someone else. The idea is to find the idea that's inside each and every one of you. And as I look out here amongst the faces, and I see what you've done that's represented by the trophy case, and when I see what the kinds of tools that you're being offered to study and to learn, each one of you has a potential to have the next great idea. The trick is to figure out how to reach that potential, how to find that spark within each and every one of you. So how can we do that? when we talk about business and IT, and we combine it with spirit and religion, and we combine it with an understanding of history and culture, your history and your culture, other people's history and culture, and then say, where does this all come together? Innovation Nation Tours, the group that I represent, and the people who are working to make this trip happen, will bring that all together for you so that you can find a way to connect with the innovation spirit. The itinerary that we have planned, which goes all through Israel, but will allow you to get to places that you've never been before. An opportunity to float in the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is the lowest spot on the face of the planet. Now, the Himalayas, Mount Everest is the highest spot, which I can't see from my porch in my house in Jerusalem, but I can see the Dead Sea, which is the lowest spot, which isn't actually not quite as exciting as seeing Mount Everest, but it's an amazing place to be able to go and to float in a sea that's 30% salt, that you can just sort of sit and read a newspaper while you're floating. That's one of the things that we're going to be able to do. We're also going to allow you to do something that I know from what I understand from Principal Poon, that each one of you will be able to do easily, which is to give you, expose you to some training that we do for the Israeli army, and to allow you to test yourselves and to break through your own personal achievements and to achieve more. We'll be doing hiking together in the desert, in the desert and in the north of the country, in areas that are tremendously exciting. These pictures here are from a place called Mitzpe Ramon, where we're going to have some hiking, and from what I understand, we're going to plan a 10K run in the crater. You see at the top here, a 10K run in the crater at Mitzpe Ramon. This is an unusual place. There are only 7 of these craters in the world. 5 of them are in Israel. Each day that we have planned is a combination of activities that allow for visits to places like the Microsoft Accelerator in Herzliya, and at the same time, activities that are designed to help you to understand networking and teamwork and challenging and communication between people that is at the essence of working as a team when you're creating a company or when you're trying to get a job done. We'll do social action projects. Again, I understood that many of the trophies in the trophy case are related not just to sports, but also to social action, to doing things for the community, to doing things for other people. You oftentimes give more and get more when you're giving to someone else. So we're also going to touch that aspect of the Israeli culture, which again, I think resonates very well with what the school is doing. And of course, academia and science understanding. The Weizmann Institute is one of the premier research and development institutes in the world. They only do graduate work, no undergraduate work. We'll have a chance to go there, meet with some researchers and perhaps even some students from China who are doing their own research there. And the chance to take all of this that I've been talking about, the innovation and the technology and the things we're seeing today, which is the sites and the places of the Holy Land. In Jerusalem, walking the Via Dolorosa, going to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, going to Bethlehem, to go to the Sea of Galilee, to dip in the waters of the Jordan River, while at the same time experiencing all of these other activities. This is an opportunity that we have a chance to actually walk in Jesus' footsteps, to go to Nazareth, to go to the sites of the miracles around the Sea of Galilee, the multiplication of the loaves and fishes where Jesus walked on the water, to look at the vistas of the Galilee and to hike in those areas. an opportunity that really only has a chance when you're there on site in the land of Israel. And what I'd like to say is we'll look at the miracles of the first century and the miracles of the 21st century and see how they connect. What happened 2,000 years ago? What's happening today in order to try and understand what's going to happen tomorrow. The Western Wall, the most holy site for Judaism, and the Knesset in Israel, where the laws of the modern state of Israel are made. What's the connection between those two, and what can you learn about your own country and your own history that makes sense? We'll be meeting, not just going to places, but no less important, meeting the people who are going to share with you their thoughts, their insights, their understandings about all the things that we've talked about, and help you to look inside yourselves to see something that maybe you didn't know was there. Before we open it up to questions and answers, one more movie, because movies are always good, right? I always prefer movies to somebody talking, so I'm going to play one more movie. Let me just see. Just want to make sure. Could you hear? Was it difficult to hear the last one? It was kind of quiet, yes?
By many measures, the country relative to its population that's done the most to contribute to the technology revolution.
Now, when you look at the NASDAQ, companies are listed from around the world. There's one country, though, that truly stands out, and that is Israel.
If you go to the Middle East looking for oil, you don't need to stop in Israel. But if you go looking for brains, for energy, for integrity, it's the only stop you need to make in the Middle East.
Israel was established by people who had a vision and created a reality against all odds. The pioneers of today are no different. They are changing the world in science, in agriculture, and health in ways that affect our lives on a daily basis. Tomorrow will look completely different because of innovation happening today in Israel.
The first aerial vehicle designed specifically for urban environments. The future of aviation is just around the corner.
I think that all of this, the concepts, everything going on here, is just really cool.
We visited the old city and Masada, and at the same time, met with cutting-edge science and high-tech professionals. Our guide showed us how it all connects. I learned about the spirit of venture capital in Israel and the connection between the natural spirit and the investment spirit. Our system continuously scans the area in front of the vehicle, detecting all types of vehicles in your path.
Been staying up late, getting up early, but it's kind of related to Israel and the startup culture in that if you want to do something great, you're going to have to push yourself and you're going to have to try hard. So
Visit Israel with Passion's Innovation Nation tours. Meet the inspiring individuals who are changing the world we live in and experience firsthand the Israeli culture that is inspiring startup companies bent on making the world a better place. Plug into the source of creative energy that is Israel today.
That's just a taste of what the trip this summer is going to look like and feel like. The opportunity that you have is one that is unusual. And I would encourage each one of you to think closely that this is an opportunity that you may want to make sure that you don't pass up. When I was investing in startup companies, we were always afraid of missing the next big company. But the trick is to identify opportunities and to grab them when they come by. I think this is an opportunity that your school is offering and that the Startup Life Exchange is offering that's going to make a big difference in the way you think, the way you engage with the world, and perhaps even bring the next great idea to Hong Kong, to China, and to the world. I'm just going to leave you with one further thought just before I go. Sometimes people say, listen, I can go I can read about all this, I can look at movies, I can look at video clips. I don't really need to go and understand. I can take a look at something and I can understand it myself. But sometimes you can take a look at something and not see the whole picture. And sometimes it takes, it's not a rocket science, but it takes a good teacher to point out something and all of a sudden you see things differently. We're all familiar with the FedEx logo. If we want to get something from one place to another, send it to FedEx and it will get there. But inside of the FedEx logo is something that maybe you've seen before, but if you haven't seen it, once you see it, you'll understand things differently. Do you see the arrow inside of FedEx? Can you find it? It's right here. See the arrow? Once you've seen the arrow inside of FedEx, all of a sudden the word FedEx is not just FedEx. It's FedEx with an arrow that's going somewhere. If you want to understand, if you want to see things differently, if you want to look at something and then all of a sudden get a deeper understanding, you need to come on these kinds of trips to be able to peel back the ways of seeing things and look at things a little bit differently. Look at it with a fresh eye. So in that, I want to say thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you very much, Mr. Gray. Very informative presentation. Now, I would really like to hear some questions from you guys.
Before you came to the session today, when someone said Israel, what was the first word that came into your mind?
So what I would think about Israel before I joined this section is maybe the Bible, Jerusalem, Jesus, all those. And excuse me, may I ask one more question? Do we actually get a chance to visit the Google company in Israel if I join in the tour? Thank you.
So the answer, thank you. First of all, I want you to give another round of applause to the person who asked the question. The toughest thing in the world is to ask the first question. That's the toughest thing in the world. The only thing tougher is to try and give the first answer, so I'm going to try and do that. So the question is, when we get to go to Google, and we have on the itinerary a session that's held at Google headquarters in Israel. And we will have a lecture that's given at Google headquarters. Google is one of many important companies that we'll have a chance to visit, including Microsoft and perhaps some others. What's even more interesting, perhaps, is you may get to see the next Google that you don't know about yet. But then when it happens, I used to bring groups to a company called Waze, and all of a sudden they got acquired by Google, and they're the ones who are driving the traffic app for Google. So sometimes you'll see the company before it becomes famous. Sometimes we'll see the companies that are already famous. Other questions? Yes, question over here.
I want to ask if I can see any church in Israel.
One of the most exciting parts of a visit to a trip to Israel is not just to see any church, but to see some of the churches in Israel are built over places where things happened. The Church of the Annunciation in Nazareth is built over the site where traditionally Mary was told by Gabriel that she's pregnant with the Messiah child. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where I bring people all the time, is built over the site of Golgotha, where the crucifixion was, and not more than a few meters away is the tomb, Jesus' tomb, where the resurrection took place. So not only will you get to go to churches, you get to go to the most important churches in all of Christianity, because in Israel, this is where things took place. It's not just a church, not that Rome isn't important, Rome is very important, but the real ground zero for Christianity is in Israel. Yes?
Sir, you just mentioned about the training in Israel, and I would like to ask, can I actually handle a rifle?
That's a good question. I don't know if we have well, I'll say this. In theory, the answer is yes. In other words, there is, I think we can, if the organizers deem it to be an important experience, we can probably work it into the itinerary. There is an opportunity for a couple of days of military training. Of course, at the end, you have to serve for 2 years in the Israeli army, so that's, you don't mind doing that. Just kidding, I'm just kidding. Yes, it's possible, but only within the framework of a very controlled situation. We would have to see if that was important in terms of what the school is interested in providing. So, again, if there are no more questions, I want to thank you so much for your attention, and I hope to see a lot of you, if not all of you, this summer on this really what will be, I hope, to be a transforming experience for those of you who come to see us in Israel. We look forward to hosting you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Chances to visit the IT company, which are the largest in the world. So thanks a lot, and I also want to introduce another person to you, Joe. I want to see you in this tour. Okay, thank you very much.